What are you saying, bro? You ready for another lesson?
Man, I can't wait, man. It's been a while, so...
That's a screw.
You can even tell already, you know?
Hey, right rudder, that's it.
Wheel 01, you can backtrack now.
Need to be over the field in between the two.
Alright.
What do you know about increasing the angle of bank?
Full speed.
Exactly.
You're fine, you're on the centre line, and then suddenly you're not, bro.
Next time you're in a grass bro.
That landing. Whew. I'm worn out.
Are you aiming to be a commercial pilot?
Yes, at some point.
Yes, so these calls, they have to be made in a commercial environment. Well done, mate. You're going to make a good commercial pilot.
Thank you.
I'll walk up behind the aircraft. You're very behind the aircraft.
We've got a fuel leak. Have we? Yeah.
By the way, go to the whiskey, sorry. The whiskey is quite strong. Mate, you're going to make a good commercial pilot.
You still have control.
No, you tell me when you want to take control. You tell me when you want to take control.
Ever? Do I have to?
Yes. As I say so. Bear in mind, you're going to have to work with what you've got, normally. What do you need?
That's what. I'll make use of what I've got.
Previously on Future Pilot 901.
Okay, how you feeling?
Feeling good?
Good. You're gonna go solo.
Okay. Student Will 08 is ready for departure. We are off.
Student Wheel 08, surface wind is 330 at 9 knots, we've got one to vacate.
Student Will 08.
Charlie Kilo into right base, get out to land. Student Wheel 08, minute takes and well done.
This aircraft is so nice to fly with. Yeah, very nice.
Victor Golf, Kid 20 Southing Victoria Airspace now in the climb task sheet 3,000 feet, heading 090 degrees.
Yes, 3,000 feet is very nice and smooth. Yeah, it's not like in the cloud.
Golf, resume our location, Sierra November. This comes the procedure report on low flight established.
The whole point of getting your IMC is you fly clouds. That's sort of where we are roughly. See?
Okay.
So we came in for an approach on runway 23. We did a missed approach, and now we're being vectored around to do another approach into runway 23.
Yes. It's the third Monday of the month. It's time for us to talk about accident investigations and how we can be safer pilots. Ever since I was a kid, I had a dream of becoming a pilot, but could never afford it. One day I decided to stop making excuses, to sacrifice my comfort, to make my dream happen. My name is D, and this is my journey. This is Future Pilot 901. Yes, what's up, people, boys and girls, aviators, aviation enthusiasts? Welcome back to Future Pilot 901, live on Kick and YouTube every Monday, 7 p.m. UTC. Where's my graphics? Let's do this. I'm your future captain. My name is D. And this is episode number 36 of Future Pilot 901 Live. How you guys doing? I hope you're having a great start to the week. Well, I guess for some, it will depend on how great your weekend was. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know about you guys, but yeah, I had a date with an airplane. And I treated her well. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But yes, happy new week. Happy new week. Now, for those of you who are very keen observers, you'll be saying, hey, D, what's going on? Where's your pilot uniform? Where is your pilot uniform? Where is your pilot uniform? Well, what had happened was last week I had a presentation. I wore the uniform and I put it in the dirty laundry pile, and apparently it never got washed. So, you know, 1 second. There's always people to block. Always people to block. But yes, so that's what happened. I'm going to be honest with you guys and tell you that my uniform is just not available today. Not available today. So I come dressed as I am. Hopefully you still accept me just the way I am. Just the way I am. But yeah, I hope you had a great weekend. Whatever you ended up doing, I hope you had a fantabulous time. Fantastic and fabulous time. So got a few things in the works for today. As some of you know, I've kind of switched it up a little bit to streamline the workload for myself. So the first Monday of each month is basically Ask Me Anything. The second Monday of the month is going to be best of the internet, as in, you know, looking at aviation videos, aviation YouTubers, films, that kind of thing. It's going to be basically my reaction. And we had a pretty good episode last week, actually. If you didn't watch that, then I would suggest you go back. It's available on YouTube, so you can have a look. It was quite interesting. There's some life lessons in there. There's a bit of, you know, some jokes, a bit of fun, a bit of lightheartedness to keep your day spicy. You know, where is it? A little bit of a few jokes just to keep everything spicy for you. Now, where are my sounds? There we go.
Let me add a little bit of spice to that.
A little bit of spice. But yeah, very interesting, very interesting. So make sure you go back and check that. Shout out to my aunt who's probably watching. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. Thank you for being one of the two viewers. And the other viewer, I paid myself. Yeah, just invoice me. d@futurepilot901.com. Just send me your invoice for the latest watching. Now I'm playing. Shout out to everyone that passes through. You know, I know there's some people that watch the replay. I appreciate you. I always get messages, get people in the chat every now and then. So I appreciate the company, man. I appreciate the company. So last week, did I finish telling you about the structure? No, I didn't. Let me tell you that before I tell you about last week. So first Monday, Ask Me Anything. Second Monday, reacting to films, videos. Third Monday, which this happens to be, is more about focusing on accident investigation. Then fourth Monday, potentially guest show, still kind of figuring it all out, but it just kind of streamlines everything for me so that I'm not preparing everything for each stream. I can just focus on one area, or focus on one area rather than 3, 4, 5 different areas, which is a lot more manageable for me, considering it's application season, it's scholarship season, it's sponsored scheme season. Last week there was the opportunity with Leading Edge went online. It was finally live, so they're offering quite an interesting opportunity for people to complete their training, first of all, to become commercial pilots, to become flight instructors, to be bonded for 3 years, and then support with progressing forward to then getting your airline job. So a really cool opportunity, particularly if you're struggling, and good God knows that we all struggle with the cost of flight training. So yeah, if that's something that's useful for you. I know there's some people who are like, they're a lot older. For example, for myself as well, being a flight instructor full time would actually be a pay cut. So it's something I have to think about very carefully. The great thing is they cover the cost of your training, and you do actually contribute, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me, but you do contribute. I think if you're going the modular route, it's 25,000. If you're going the integrated route, then it's about 30,000, and then they cover the rest. So yeah, each opportunity has its pros, has its cons, depending on what stage of life you're in, depending on what the opportunity is. So you really just have to evaluate it for yourself and decide whether it's worth the cost, So for some people who are older, maybe got a mortgage, maybe got a family, it's just might not be feasible. Yeah. And it would make sense for them to kind of continue working their current line of work, slowly put money to the side, do it bit by bit, and then when they're ready, jump right into aviation, because probably the first couple of years will still be a bit of a pay cut, but at least it won't be as bad as being a flight instructor. So yeah, each opportunity has to be evaluated for its own merits. So that's the structure I'm hoping to do for the shows with those Mondays. And I was telling you about my uniform last week. I gave a presentation to year 5s. They're about 9 years old, year 5s. And I have to say, they were brilliant. Yeah. They had the best questions. They were so inquisitive. They wanted to know everything. I mean, I had a minimal presentation. It was about 45 minutes. I only had like 6 slides, and some of the slides were videos. And for me, it's very important to connect with the audience, to connect with who I'm speaking to have a dialogue rather than it being just, death by PowerPoint. So it was very, very interesting. I could barely get through 6 slides in 45 minutes because they had that many questions. So it was really cool to just be able to, inspire them. I think one of the teachers said that, when they're asked about aspirations, they kind of like a bit like deer in headlights, a bit like, not really gravitating towards anything. So I planted seeds. I planted some seeds there. You know, I ended my presentation by saying, hopefully one day I will see you in the flight deck, you know, and you'll be telling me about that time when I came to your school and spoke to you about becoming a pilot. But yeah, they had lots of questions, you know. It was amazing to see. It was fantastic, really inspiring, you know. It reminds me about there is this an old saying about being childlike, which is, you know, sometimes children are just kind of, you know, not as self-conscious, not as boxed in their ideas. They kind of just can just go, maybe sometimes a lot more than adults do. So yeah, there's something about being around children that I really love, that re-energizes me. And I get to teach, I get to tap into the side of me, the teacher in me, the side of me that wants to explain things, that wants to, you know, bring it to life, and that wants to see the light bulb go on in their minds, where it's like, oh, I get it now. That's what I'm looking for. So yeah, pretty fun for me. And then on the weekend, I flew to, actually, I can't say where I flew to because of what I'm about to say next. I flew to an unknown location, which was really nice. It was nice, kind of flying to an unfamiliar airfield. And then I thought I'd sit down, you know, get some food before I turn back. I looked at the menu, fish finger, burger, English breakfast, all of that. I was like, do you know what? I tend to get English breakfast. I got English breakfast when I went to Brighton. I get English breakfast when I'm at Northfield. I thought, do you know what? Let me do something different. So the burger just said burger. I was like, what's the burger? So I asked the person, they're like, ooh, I've never noticed that in the menu before. So they go and ask the person in the kitchen. They're like, oh, by the way, the menu just says burger. What does that mean? So the guy from the kitchen comes out and he's like, oh, the burger is it's like just a beef burger, and you know, you can have it as a cheeseburger, you can have cheese, have this, that, whatever, relish, whatever, all of that. I was like, oh, that fair enough. That sounds pretty good. I'll have that. How much is it? £12. Must be worth it. I'll have that. And then I sat down, you know, got my book, this book that I'll be telling you about in a little while, 81 Lessons from Sky, which is actually a gift that I got from a friend, my friend Jesse. This was back in 2020, I think. And he was an aspiring pilot, and he decided to quit for whatever reason. He decided to quit, and he gave me everything that he had, aviation-wise. I'm talking books, kneeboard, all sorts, everything just to set me up, because he knew my story. He wanted to support me. Like, we were kind of buddied up. He was one of those people that I knew who were aspiring pilots, and we were both kind of trying to, in a way, do the impossible. So we had quite a strong bond in that way. So when he decided to quit, which was a difficult decision for him, I think, he then chucked all these stuff my way. So I finally got around to start reading it. So I had this book with me, opened it, cracked it open as I sat down on the table, awaiting my burger. Now, I want to show you guys a photo. I mean, I don't think I can do it justice. I would have to show it. Basically, a few minutes later, now, the reason why I don't want to say where it is because they were actually really kind and friendly. They were like the nicest people I could ever meet, probably. But that burger needed help. I mean, like, the bun looked like kind of like flaky and like there were bits missing, and I was like, what's going on? And then the burger itself was like this. That's the diameter, right? So if this is my palm, smaller than my palm, and I was just like, should I say something? And then I looked around. I was like, wait, just in case I'm the only one getting served this burger because I'm a newbie, like I'm clearly not from around here. Let me have a look. And I saw somebody else on the far end with a similar burger. And I was like, all right, I'll let it slide. I'll let it slide. So yeah, it was, I think probably made about what, 10 pounds profit on that burger. But yeah, it was an experience. But the flight was nice and chilled. It was busy. Everyone was out, so good fun. Anywho, moving on swiftly. What this new structure is allowing me to do as well is it's allowing me to slow down, because I don't have to rush from topic to topic, but it's also allowing me to condense the length of the show. So last week we were down to about an hour. So I want to aim for around about an hour because that's a sweet spot. And after the show, I got some time to do important stuff around. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that. So I'll be trying to do that going forward. Speaking of going forward, I've got my ATPLs coming soon. For those who don't know, ATPLs are Air Transport Pilot License theory exams, and there are 13 of them. Now, everyone I speak to basically says, look, they're not crazy hard, but you have a massive amount of information to process, right? Now, I'm not the smartest person in the world. I don't know if you've been able to tell. No, I'll take that back. I am one of the smartest people in the world, and you probably can tell. And no, but there's some concepts that just elude me. You know, there's some concepts that I read about and it just doesn't make sense. So I came across something very interesting that could help even a dummy like me learn. Check it out.
Welcome back to Ground School for Dummies. Today we shall be learning about weather fronts. Let us begin. This is warm air. This is cold air. Cold air and warm air meet each other. Line between cold air and warm air is called front. But cold air and warm air fight. Cold air have muscle. Cold air strong. Cold air push under warm air. This make warm air go up like rocket. This make very big cloud. Weather bad but short. This called cold front. After cold front, weather clear but cold. Warm air weak. Warm air no have muscles. Warm air slide on top of cold air and climb slow. This make low cloud, and low cloud spread very far, and it rains for a long time. This called warm front. Before warm front come, weather already bad, low cloud and rain. Cold front fast and warm front slow, and cold front catch warm front, and this make occluded front. Ooh, exciting. In occluded front, weather mixed, weather very messy. So cold air and warm air fight and form line, which is front, and fronts bring bad weather, fronts bring cloud, fronts bring wind, and fronts bring turbulence.
Is it just me? Or did anyone else still leave that video not knowing what he's talking about? Not because he's not explaining it in his simplest way. He really is, and it's a good explanation. But I found myself watching that video, and I'm kind of thinking, wow, like this is a really interesting way to go about explaining this. Like this is interesting. And the whole time I'm thinking that, and I'm not I'm not really paying attention. But there you go. There you go. No, I thought it was a really interesting way to put it. And if I watch it about 5 more times, I think I will master it. So that was time number 3, I think. So 2 more to go. 2 more to go. But yeah, really cool video, really cool concepts, and people are responding to it. You know, so yeah, if you could do that with all the other topics, with all the other things to learn, then you'll be on to a winner. You'll be on to a winner. But yeah, seems like a pretty decent guy. Seems like a pretty decent guy. So shout out to him. There's never a short. How can I say it? There is no limit to how many ideas you can come up with. I mean, there's some ideas I came up with that I just never had the opportunity to execute. And the next thing you know, I see it on the internet and somebody's executed it. But again, more ideas come because of, you know, the new times that we're in, new developments. So there's never a shortage of ideas. So there's a niche, there's a space for everybody. So whatever idea you have, it's down to you to make it happen. It's down to you to make it happen. So I was scrolling through the internet and I found another one. I found another one. And this time, I think I understood it a little bit better. Check it out.
Welcome back to Ground School for Dummies. Today we shall be learning about turbocharged engines. Let us begin. Engine need air. You go high up, less air. Less air, less power. Bad. Plane feel tired. Plane feel slow. This is bad. This is turbo. Say hi to turbo. Turbo squeeze air. Ooh, squeeze air good. Very good. Engine like squeeze air. This make engine happy. Yay. Now engine feel strong. But turbo work too hard. Turbo get tired. Turbo get sad. This because too high makes air less squeezy. And this is bad. Air not squeezy anymore. Power drop. This called critical.
This called critical altitude. Yeah. Hello, turbo, wherever you are. Funny enough, I've got a turbo engine in my car. So, yeah, I guess I could relate to that a bit more. So, yeah, really useful way to get through. I wonder how many videos he's got out there. But do you know what? You could find out the answer to that question by going to Instagram and following him. Give him a follow. Shout out to him, Pilot Tommy. Shout out to Pilot Tommy. I tell you what else you could do, but not now. After the show, you could take yourself to the Future Pilot 901 YouTube channel and catch this. I've always loved flying.
Hello. Under the radar. Come on. Well done.
And dancing, there's no denying. If only I could blend the two. I know what I'll do. I'll fly to new places, to dance with new faces. Making the most of the wings a private pilot license brings.
That was a little bit gusty.
Just made a no-fly decision.
Squawk on switch duty, 3-4 shore.
A different way to our build and advance.
2-0, joy and downwind.
I call it fly to dance.
Full flaps.
Ooh, nice one.
Flaps come up. Whoa, flight, man.
Foxtrot Sierra, welcome to shore.
We have everything in this flight, man.
Everything, bro.
Yes, check that out. Fly to Dance on the Future Pilot 901. Listen, shout out to those who are watching in the dark alleyways of the internet, never commenting, never chatting, just watching every move I make. Shout out to you. Thank you for being here. But listen, here's what you can do whilst you're here. If you're on Kick, make sure you hit that follow button so you get notifications when I'm online. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit that smash that like button. Come on, smash that like button. Yeah. But also make sure you are subscribed and the notification bell has been rang. That way you do not miss any new updates on the channel. All right. Over the last kind of week, I've had some new subs and new followers. So thank you. Shout out to you. Thank you for being here. It's dinner time. I've got some roasted carrots and more veg. I'm quite enjoying the veg at the moment. Roasted veg. Anywho. Where should we go next? Well, let's go to something that could be unexpected. So I've been reading this book, 81 Lessons from the Sky. And I won't lie, it kind of took a little while to get going because there was a foreword. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. This sounds really good. Then there was an introduction. I was like, okay, fair enough. Like, it's okay. We're probably going to get into the story soon. And then there was a preface or preface, however you want to say it. I was like, all right, well, okay. All right. And then there was a prologue, and I was like, come on. I was like, seriously, when do we get into the book? No, but it was all really good, really interesting, really useful information. So, yeah, I'm playing. I'm joking. You know, I'm just playing. I'm having a bit of fun. You know, just having a bit of fun and living life. And sometimes you have to
add a little bit of spice to that.
Yeah, you have to add a little bit of spice to life. You know, sometimes, hey, in life, sometimes you have to make yourself laugh. You just have to mess around. And it's part of good mental health, part of good emotional health. Just sometimes sometimes don't just wait for other people to make you laugh. Sometimes make yourself laugh. You know? It's healthy. It's healthy. So, unexpected thing that happened. I want to share with you a little bit of an excerpt from this book. This is Seat Failure on Takeoff. Now, aviation is very interesting in the sense that we are very interested in what went wrong, right? Not necessarily for gossiping reasons, although there are some gossipers around. But it's more from the perspective of what happened there, what can I learn from it so that that doesn't happen to me? Because ultimately, when people, end up in situations which could be, down to their judgment or could be something that was uncontrollable, when they face those situations and an investigation is done, then that allows us to be able to learn those lessons without going through the same situation. And in some cases, people paid for those lessons with their lives. And I think I love the culture in aviation where we honor those lives by learning the lessons and keeping the lessons and adapting and changing how we do things. And I think, that it's a great tradition, and I'm grateful to be part of that. So seat failure on takeoff is something that, for example, as a student pilot, when I did my PPL training, it's not necessarily something that we talk about or go through, and it's definitely not a must to discuss that. But it could be a factor. It could happen. And one of the greatest things about, some of the kind of standard operating procedures, for example, the captain's brief before departure, is just to prime your mind to go, okay, So we're about to depart runway 02. The circuit is left-hand circuit. So if we have to circle round to land, we'll be doing a left-hand circuit. If we have a major issue on the runway, we'll stop and exit the runway. If we have something like an engine failure with enough runway remaining, land back on the runway. Without enough runway remaining, we'll select a field 10 to 30 degrees off the nose and put it down. During the emergency landings, door needs to open before touchdown. I will tell you that it's an emergency landing, etc., etc. You prime your mind for what to look for, because in a situation, you have an unexpected situation, there will be the startle effect, right? You'll be kind of, wait, what's just happened? Oh my gosh, is this really happening to me? Wait, this is real life. Wait, what do I need to do? It will take a little while before you take the right actions. And so briefing and priming your mind allows you to shorten, in my opinion, to shorten the time that it takes for you to take the required action, which could potentially save your life. So it's with that mindset that I read this, knowing that it's not really something that was covered in my PPR training, but it's something I've heard talked about a few it's something I've heard talked about a few times. So I was quite happy to, basically come across this story. Shout out to Basil. Shout out to Basil. Thank you very much for being here, man. Thank you very much for being here. All right. On Sunday, 16th of October, 2016, a Cessna 150 crashed at Bourne Airfield on takeoff. And I sent a text to my flying partner saying that I thought it could be the classic case of a seat lock failure. This is where the seat lock is not fully engaged. And as the pilot rotates, it can rush back. The pilot hangs on to the yoke and the aircraft pitches up, stalls, and spins in. The following weekend, we both arrived at the airfield and again discussed the possible reason for the crash. We checked out my Cessna and prepared for startup. As I'm aware of the seat failure situation, I always lock the pin in place and then rattle the seat back and forth to check it's locked. We taxied out to the warm-up area and I carried out my pre-flight checks. Again, as part of my checks, I rattled the seat. I then lined up on the runway and did a few more checks and then opened the throttle. As I approached takeoff speed, I rotated the aircraft and when we were about 10 feet off the ground, my seat suddenly shot backwards. My arms were at full stretch and I could not reach the rudder pedals or the throttle. Brackets, I am short. My co-pilot shouted at me, "Nose down!" And I shouted back, "Take control!" He pushed the yoke forward and the aircraft wallowed, then went downwards, picking up speed. We cleared the runway and climbed out, and he asked what had happened. We did a circuit, and I asked him if he was okay landing from the right seat. He said, possibly. Not a good answer. So I pulled my seat forward and locked the pin again. I noticed that it did not have any tension from the spring that pulls it downwards and keeps it in place. We decided that I would land the aircraft, but he would follow me through and take control for a go-around if necessary. I landed okay and taxied back to the ramp. Upon examination, we found that the spring had broken and was hanging on one point. I took out the spring and thought I would check how bad the spring was. I got a pair of pliers to bend the top of the spring, which snapped off. I bent another bit, and that snapped off. The spring, which I assume was the same age as the aircraft, as it was painted the same color as the seat, 51 years, brackets, was completely metal fatigued. Lessons learned. I have now changed both front seat springs, but it has occurred to me that the springs have a limited life and they should perhaps be replaced over a certain period, say 10 years. Unfortunately, Cessna charge $25 for each spring, which may discourage owners to replace them at regular intervals. A further point is that we as pilots, who often fly as P2, should practice flying from the right seat in case of emergency, especially landing in a crosswind. This situation is so different from what one is used to. Even though the accident the week previously was fresh in my mind, my seat rushing back still came as a shock. And if my co-pilot had not taken control immediately, the situation could have been much worse. Very much worse. Chirp comment. Loss of control incidents are reportable as mandatory occurrence reports. And this reporter had complied with the requirement. Since seat slippage, so that's an interesting thing to note. Since seat slippage can occur on any aircraft with a movable seat, it is vital to check the security of the seat as this pilot did, whether or not the seat has been recently moved. Although the incident was caused by a failure of the lock pin spring, there is a history of problems with other aspects of the seat, and the relevant and extant FAA Airworthiness Directive, FAA AD 2011-1009, that applies to many models of Cessna aircraft. Then it goes into a bit more details, which I won't go through. But it just made me think, again, the whole point of looking at these things is to think, what if that happened to me? How would I react to ensure that I can walk away from it? How would you guys react? Now, it made a difference that he was flying with somebody else who happened to be a pilot. And when it slid back, he could go, take control. And the other person, having a secure seat, could push forward, knowing what attitude to aim for and being able to climb out onto the downwind where they can then, you have control, I have control, you have control, pass on the control of the aircraft. But what happens if you're flying solo? In fact, what happens if this happens to a student pilot flying solo? So it's, I think, an important thing to be mindful of, to be aware of. I think the other classic thing that can happen is a door flinging open, for example, which isn't as dangerous, but it can have the effect of startling people because it's just like, oh, unexpected, what's happening? And so sometimes, particularly when I'm briefing passengers, right? And it gets to the point of telling them, well, if we have an emergency, the doors would need to be open. So I make sure all my passengers know how to operate the door before we even get started. It's like, okay, cool. This is how you lock it. This is how you unlock it. Have a go. Unlock it for me. Perfect. Lock it for me. Great. Yeah. Just so they've actually done it. And then when I brief them about emergencies and landing in the field, you do kind of, I try to act as nonchalant as possible. I'm just like, yeah, if we have to land in the field, we'll just put it down in the field, crack the doors open before touchdown, and then just, any questions? But they're thinking, wait, what? Right? And so it can be a little bit tricky talking about stuff like this, particularly with student pilots or whatever, but it's important because you'd better talk about it and be prepared in case it happened than not talk about it, and then something happens and you're not prepared to react. That's very, very important. So that was a little excerpt from 81 Lessons from the Sky. 81 Lessons from the Sky. I feel like I'm down a few adverts. I am down a few adverts because I had the season 2 trailer, and there are 2 trailers, and then there's the Fly to Dance. So there are 3. Okay. I am down a few adverts, but that's okay. That's okay. So, time then to move on to the next segment. The next segment, I do like to have a look through documents that come out, through reports that come out, and we have a report to have a look at. There we go. This is AAIB, which is the Air Accident Investigation Branch Bulletin for February. So let's have a look, work my way through this. Now, there was something I was wondering about. There's something I was wondering that I'm going to have a look at now. What is the difference? AIB field. So there are a few different categories in this. And I like to use this as an opportunity to reduce the level of ignorance. I mean, I've got vast levels of ignorance. I'll be honest about that. But this is my attempt to reduce my ignorance. And you know, something I heard years ago was that sometimes you feel like you got a stupid question, but here's the thing, and you don't want to ask it. And that's normal for people to not want to ask stupid questions. But here's the thing. If you ask a stupid question and you get the answer, then you're not going to be stupid anymore, are you? So sometimes the cost of being smart is being stupid. Truer words were never spoken. Sometimes the cost of being smart is being stupid. Quotes, stupid. It's not really stupid, but you feel stupid. Or at least I do. So, with that in mind, now that I've primed you to overlook my stupidness, now that I've primed you to overlook my stupidness, or my stupidity, or my ignorance, that's even a better word. What is the difference between a field investigation, correspondence investigation, and record-only investigation? What is the difference? What is the difference? What is the difference? So I'm actually going to search that up. I'm actually going to search that up and ask and find out. And hopefully, once I do this once, I won't ever have to do it again, because I will know. And then I don't have to act like I know when I don't know, because I will actually know. So let's have a look. Thinking. Okay, let's see. AIB classifies investigation based on severity and safety potential. Field investigation. Obviously, I can kind of deduce what it means, but I want to actually know, because sometimes we assume we know things, but we might not know all the details. So I would rather not assume that I know and act like I don't know to learn the whole thing. So field investigation involve on-site inspection and detailed analysis by investigators. Correspondence investigation rely on questionnaires and information provided by the pilot, owner, or owner to analyze incidents. Record only investigations are in effect for occurrences where sufficient info exists already, with little likelihood of finding new safety lessons. Okay. So record only investigations are for occurrences where sufficient info exists already, with little likelihood for finding new safety lessons. Right. Okay. So we've already learned these lessons. It's kind of just another repeat situation. There's not going to be too much to draw out of it, but we're just going to report on it that it happened. Got you. Occurrences. Whereas field investigation is going to be more in depth. Correspondence is more relying on questionnaires and information provided by the pilot or owner. Got you. See? Now I know what it means. Okie doke. So let's have a look at this bulletin, February bulletin. So contents, of course, this covers all of aviation. So there's commercial air transport, there's general aviation, all of that. Yeah. So I tend to focus on the general aviation. So field investigation, as you can see, fixed wing, under general aviation, fixed wing, there were none. So that's good. All right. And under correspondence investigation, general aviation, we have 4 of them on there. And then there's the sports and all of that. Record only investigation. That's a review, addenda, and corrections. Right. So let's drift on over to these ones. Have a quick general overview, look at what it looks like, and then I may take a deep dive into one of them, but I will not take a deep dive into all of them. Let's have a look. Page 3. Okay. Right. See, this is the annoying part because, okay. All right, here we go. So what happened here? Synopsis: the aircraft veered left. The aircraft veered left during takeoff roll and departed the runway. It collided with an antenna on the grass to the left of the runway and was extensively damaged. The solo student on board sustained serious injuries. Whoa, okay. Okay, I hope they're all right. But yeah, that's that. I mean, as a solo student, that's definitely not something you want happening. I wonder what happened there. Where is this? Blackbush. Oh, wait. When was this? This was 6th of August 20. I think I heard something about this. Let's see. Is there photos? That's Blackbush. I've never flown into Blackbush, but I know people who fly out of Blackbush. Oh, okay. All right. Let's look at the next one. We'll see what we come back to. So this one is private. How many hours did that student have? I wonder. 20 hours on type. 23 years old. Gosh, what an experience. Let's have a look. What else is on here? So, synopsis. It's a bit longer, this one. As the aircraft was on approach to Netishall airfield, the landing gear failed to extend. Both the normal and emergency extension and retraction systems had malfunctioned. After discussion with his passenger, the pilot decided that it was prudent to divert to Norwich Airport with its higher level of emergency facilities. That's a smart move. He carried out a fly past, and the control staff at Norwich observed that the landing gear appeared to not have extended correctly. The pilot landed the aircraft in this condition, and the aircraft sustained damage to its underside and propeller. The pilot and his passenger were uninjured. Brilliant job. Amazing. The landing gear malfunction was caused by a steering centering pin, which had become worn, misaligned, and disengaged from its guide bars. Okay. So the landing gear malfunction was caused by a steering centering pin, which had become worn, misaligned, and disengaged from its guide bars. The nose wheel did not center as a result, and this caused the nose gear to jam on retraction into the nose wheel bay. This led to an overload of the normal landing gear extension and retraction system motor and emergency system seizure. Now, a great thing there is no one injured, safe decision. Of course, that wasn't necessarily time critical, so he had the time to think very carefully about what he wanted to do. And that's one of the things you would one of the kind of decision making frameworks that you'd have is you might use something like TDODA, which is the first thing to identify and to establish is what is the time pressure here, how much time do we have. Okay, landing gear won't retract, it's not an immediate issue. How much fuel do we have? We've got 3 hours of fuel. All right, how much daylight do we have? We've got 4 hours of daylight. Perfect. So 3 hours, wouldn't want to cut it that close, so let's call it 2 hours. I've got 2 hours to make a decision. All right, what's the safest thing to do? Go back, go ahead and do a landing on the other side of where your destination. For example, in the other week, there was an article about an airline, well-known airline, I won't name it, that took off. I think it was from America, and one of the wheels fell off. But because of the nature of that, it didn't really affect the safety of the flight necessarily, not as much as obviously this case. They just continued with their flight, landed in the UK and had that fixed. So potentially something like that, you may even decide to continue on to your destination, depending on how time critical it all is. So yeah, interesting to note some of the, and it's worth thinking about that. If you're going to fly a plane with retractable gears, what do you do in the case that the landing gear will not extend? Worth thinking about. That's something that's in my future. Oh, look, somebody got a picture of it. Interesting. Partially extended. Yeah, you can definitely see that. That's not fully locked for sure. Interesting. I love how everyone kind of pitches in, when it comes to safety and aviation. Yikes. Is that after? Let's have a look at the next one, right? Pilot 71 years old and thousands of hours and a few hundreds on type. Let's have a look at the synopsis. After approximately 30 minutes of flying as part of a running in, the engine running in the engine following a recent rebuild, the engine began to run roughly, and the number 3 cylinder head temperature began to decrease. A short time later, the engine suffered an uncontained failure of the number 3 cylinder connecting rod and piston. The pilot was able to conduct a forced landing. The cause of the engine failure was determined to be oil starvation, which led to the failure of 2 main bearings and the number 3 cylinder connecting rod end cap. Debris from the uncontained failure also damaged the magneto and caused the distributor gear drive shaft to shear. The exact cause of the starvation could not be fully determined. So that's again, seems like it was well handled. Everyone's safe. Was there a passenger on board? None. No, just one crew. So yeah, I mean, probably Probably would have to have a change of underwear, but after an incident like this. Yeah. Crazy. Oh, another reason why I am wanting to definitely not extend today's show is because I'm flying tomorrow. I've got a flight into Duxford. So I'm looking forward to that. But I've got an early get up. And of course, I want to make sure that I'm well rested so that hopefully I do not end up in one of these reports, because it's not about that. So I want to be as rested as possible so I can be concentrated as possible and be as safe as possible for my sake and also my passengers and also the general public. All right. And this is the final one. Let's see. One crew, no passengers. So 2025 June situation, just over 1,000 hours for the commander's flying experience and a few hundred on type. So this is a rotary aircraft, isn't it? So it's a heli. What the heli? All right. This is an aircraft accident report submitted by the pilot. So hence why it's a correspondence investigation. See, I'm learning. Synopsis. During a planned... Oh, wait. Did I hear about this? I think I also heard about this one at the time. When was this? Wait. June 2025. What was I doing in June? June 2025. Oh, this was a few weeks before Fly to Dance was filmed. A couple of days after my birthday. During a planned VFR flight from Denham Airfield, a pilot of a Robinson R-66 encountered low cloud shortly after departure. The pilot was not qualified in instrument flying and unintentionally entered IMC around 700 feet above ground level, leading to spatial disorientation. Attempts to regain VFR conditions by climbing were constrained by controlled airspace. With thickening cloud and a lowering cloud base, the pilot decided to return to Denham. The helicopter broke cloud over fields and the pilot decided to make a precautionary landing. The landing was heavy, resulting in the helicopter rolling over. The pilot was uninjured, but the helicopter was significantly damaged. The section of blade tip was propelled nearly 180 meters, embedding itself in a wisteria attached to the wall of a house. What is a wisteria? What is a wisteria? If I'm even saying it correctly. Wait. Oh, it's a tree. Apparently, that's what it is. Wall of a house. Okay. Interesting. And where is that? That's the weather. That's the path. That's the report. Or the forecast. That's the aircraft. What the hell? I should not be doing that. I take that back. I take that back. That's been stuck in my head since I saw somebody filming a helicopter and having that music playing in the background. But yeah, glad that they were uninjured. Glad that they are safe. But yeah, lessons to be learned there. So, which one do I want to take a deep dive in? If you're in the chat, you can vote 1, 2, 3, or 4. 1, 2, 3, or 4. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Where is it? Where is that? Okay, so 1, veered during takeoff, roll. 2, landing gear wouldn't lock out, damage to the underside. 3 is emergency landing with the number 3 cylinder head cylinder failure. And number 4 is the heli having to do a precautionary landing due to flying into weather. Now, I know what I want to jump into before I conclude the stream, but I'm going to just open it up to anyone that wants to have a vote. Anyone that wants to have a vote, you may vote now. So I know some people watch this on a big screen, so then you don't have chat available. So I shall make the decision for you. I shall make the decision for you based on what I think you might be interested in. So let's go to the student pilot. So we're going to go with number 1. Of course, if you want to have a look, it just takes a bit of a Google, AAIB February bulletin, and you can have a look. What is this? 20 hours. All right, let's take a bit of a deep dive into this one, see what we can pull out. Yeah, because this one was I was a bit mystified as to what might have went wrong. So let's have a look. So Seneca 200 Rotax engine, year of manufacture 2022. So still pretty brand spanking new aircraft. The date is 6th of August 2025, about 3, just before 4 p.m. at Blackbush Airport, Surrey. There was 1 crew on board. There's a student pilot flying on their own, and they were seriously injured. Nature of damage: right wing extensively damaged and canopy shattered. Nose landing gear broken off, damage beyond economic repair. Commander license is student, the age 23. Flying experience 200 hours, or correction, 20 hours, of which 20 were on type. Last 90 days, so all those 20 hours were within the 30 days preceding this accident, and 4 hours were within the month before. Information source is the aircraft accident report form submitted by the pilot. Synopsis: the aircraft veered to the left during takeoff roll and departed the runway. It collided with an antenna on the grass to the left of the runway and was extensively damaged. The solo student pilot on board sustained serious injuries. In some way, maybe it was a good idea that it collided, because that at least would have brought it to a halt. Who knows what could have happened if it kept on, like, maybe if there was more space, he would have, controlled the aircraft, or maybe he would have gone into something else and the damage could have been even worse. Who knows? Hard to tell sometimes with these things. History of the flight: the student had completed a dual circuit consolidation. Oh gosh, imagine what the flight instructor was feeling after this. But yeah, the student had completed a dual circuit consolidation flight with an instructor immediately preceding the accident flight. This was assessed as satisfactory, and the instructor exited the aircraft on the parking area outside the operator's premises. The intention was then for the student to practice circuits solo. Now, about 20 hours, that's pretty decent. About 20 hours, that's pretty decent for somebody to be going solo. Obviously, varies from person to person. I went solo about 10 to 12 hours. So 20 hours can be a really good average for solo. The student made a radio call to Blackbush Information and taxied towards runway 25. The engine run-up checks were conducted with no abnormalities observed. The student taxied to holding point Alpha 1 for runway 25. So holding point Alpha 1 for runway 25. Yeah. And made ready for departure radio telephony call. Black Push Information replied that he was clear for takeoff at his discretion. The student lineup on runway 25 increased the engine power RPM to 4,000. 4,000, yikes. Check that the engine temperatures and pressures were, that's powerful. Check that the engine temperatures and pressures were within limits and release the brakes. As the aircraft began to accelerate, the student recalled applying right rudder input and advancing the throttle to the maximum continuous power setting. The student then stated, and as airspeed became alive, the throttle advanced to maximum takeoff power and nearing rotational speed, 55 knots. At this point, the aircraft veered left. I attempted to apply additional right rudder, which felt stiffer than usual. I cannot comment on its effectiveness. Okay. So there you go. That's where they were. Accident site was here. So, how long is this runway? 1,200, about 1,200, 1,300 meters. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it was near rotational speed. So, yeah, that looks about right. The aircraft exited the runway to the left onto the adjacent grass. The student recalled reducing the throttle to idle and the aircraft undergoing several bounces. Okay. He applied the brakes, but could not recall at what speed or how effective the braking was. As the aircraft traveled across the grass, the student saw a large antenna ahead. The student applied right rudder, but stated that had no effect. He applied left rudder, which did give a response, but he was unable to avoid the antenna. The right wing struck the antenna, and the aircraft rotated around the structure, coming to rest after almost 270 degrees of yaw, approximately parallel to runway 07. The antenna collapsed onto the aircraft, shattering the canopy. Once the aircraft had come to rest, the student released his harness and was able to open the canopy. A bystander called out to the student to vacate the aircraft since fuel could be seen leaking out. The student turned off the magnetos, removed the aircraft key, turned off the master switches, and then vacated the aircraft over the left wing. Can I just say, that is a brilliant move. Okay. Under pressure as a student pilot, they would have practiced this before going solo. Mags off, removing the key, master switch off. Only thing I'd probably add is like fuel off, but at that point fuel is leaking. Like who knows how effective that is. I'm not a flight instructor. I'm just, a private pilot just trying to learn. His phone detected the crash and initiated an emergency call at 15:38. That's really cool. The student was admitted to hospital and diagnosed with a serious chest injury. Golly gosh. Manubriosternal dislocation, believed to have resulted from colliding with the aircraft control yoke. He remained in hospital for 5 days, but glad he's still alive. Accident site. The aircraft struck an antenna adjacent to the BLK non-directional beacon and came to rest approximately opposite the intended departure direction. Right. So Alpha 1 holding point, runway 25 threshold. So maybe you would have started the ground roll around here, and that's where he ended up. The right wing was severely damaged and the canopy shattered and the nose landing gear broke off. The extent of the damage is shown here. Okay. So yeah, that got chewed up right there. Got chewed up real nice. Canopy shattered. Looks like a really nice aircraft as well. Right. The wind was 250 at 9 knots. Okay, so crosswind wasn't a factor, so it's not about the crosswind. All right, let's read about a bit about the aircraft. The Seneca 200, or the Sonica 200, is a low-wing cantilever monoplane. Oh, gosh. What is that? What's that, brother? Let's see. Nope. Nope. Not that. Not that. Nope. Nope. Let me find it. Let me find it. Cantilever wing, non-cantilever wing, braced wing. What does that mean? Let me see. Single-winged aircraft whose wings are entirely self-supporting, requiring no external struts, wires, or bracing for structural integrity. Got you. Got you. Got you. Good to know. Good to know. Good to know. Made from aluminium alloy. It has an enclosed cabin with 2 side-by-side seats. It's powered by a 115 horsepower Rotax 914 engine and has a fixed tricycle landing gear. After the accident, the operator examined the aircraft and found all flying controls to be still connected and operating normally. All flying controls, including the rudder, the yoke, all that. The nose wheel, though its range of movement was limited by the damage, could still be moved in both directions. The wheels, tires, and brakes were all reported to be in good condition. Right. Personnel. The student was very inexperienced with a total of just over 20 hours, of which less than 1 hour was as PIC. So that's probably from a couple of circuits or a few circuits as pilot in command after this first solo. During the flight, an instructor immediately preceding the accident flight was... Let me try that again. During the flight, with an instructor immediately preceding the accident flight, the student flew 3 circuits. The approaches on those circuits consisted of 1 go-around, 1 touch-and-go landing, and 1 full-stop landing with flaps. The instructor stated that the student had demonstrated a high level of aircraft control throughout the takeoff, circuit, and landing. The instructor recalled that the student had a tendency to verbalize their actions, highlighting any required adjustments throughout each phase of flight, which is what I also do. The instructor felt this gave a clear insight into the student's situational awareness and decision-making process. So, what went wrong? Analysis. No technical cause for the aircraft exiting the runway was identified. It is likely, therefore, that the yaw to the left was induced by the aerodynamic and mechanical characteristics of the aircraft. All propeller aircraft exhibit a tendency to swing to one side on takeoff, resulting from the slipstream effect of the propeller and the torque reaction to the propeller's rotation. A propeller that is rotating clockwise, viewed from behind, as on the Sonica 200, will impart a rotation to the slipstream in the same sense. This rotation produces an asymmetric flow over the fin and the rudder, such as to induce an aerodynamic force to the right. Interesting. What? Wait, that's just confused me. A propeller that is rotating in a clockwise direction viewed from behind, as on the Sonica 200, will impart a rotation to the slipstream in the same sense. This rotation produces an asymmetric flow over the fin and rudder, such as to induce an aerodynamic force to the right. This in turn will cause the aircraft to yaw to the left. Okay, cool. Now I'm there. If the propeller rotates clockwise, viewed from behind, the torque reaction will tend to rotate the aircraft in the opposite sense, i.e. roll to the left. The rolling motion is prevented by the wheels being in contact with the ground and this results in more weight being supported by the left tire than the right tire, which increases the rolling resistance of the left tire. Consequently, the aircraft will tend to swing to the left until wings take the weight off the main tires. Although the student stated he applied right rudder at the start of the takeoff roll, it appeared that the rudder input did not fully counter the tendency of the aircraft to yaw. The aircraft was light and would have accelerated rapidly, meaning the time interval for the aircraft to reach the edge of the runway would have been very short. At this point, the student's expectations were breached, and it's possible he suffered a, remember we talked about this earlier, startle effect, which might have delayed or impaired the application of appropriate corrective action. With the aircraft traveling at such high speed, it is likely it collided with the antenna before the student could respond appropriately. So, conclusion. The aircraft yawed left and exited the runway, most likely as a result of uncorrected slipstream and torque effects. It's possible that the student's stuff... Can you tell us the end of the day? I'm struggling to get my words out. It is possible that the student suffered a startle response, which affected his response to the situation. The available evidence suggested insufficient right rudder was applied. The aircraft was damaged beyond economic repair, and the student suffered a serious chest injury. I'm glad that they're still safe, though. I'm glad that they're still safe. Let me just see. 1 second. I'm going to have a look at the chat. 1 second. One second. Yeah, so interesting one here. Stop sharing that. So I told you guys I've been reading this book, and I read a little section from this book a bit earlier. Interestingly, there's a story of somebody who was flying. I can't remember all the details, but something happened and they were losing control and they applied right rudder. But as they applied right rudder, they were moving more to the left. Now, if you apply a right rudder, what you're expecting to happen is to go to the right. Now, they were going to the left. They applied right rudder and they went to the left. They applied more right rudder and they went more to the left. And then at some point, they caught themselves and they found that they had their foot on the wrong rudder. They thought they were applying more right rudder, but they were actually using their right foot to apply left rudder. Don't know how it happened, but that's the situation they caught themselves in. And then as soon as they corrected that, they were then back on track. So sometimes in these high pressure moments, particularly flying, where there are so many factors at play, there's so many different variables, it's so easy to lose track of and make silly mistakes, to lose track of things and make silly mistakes. So I talked to you guys about where I flew to the other day. And I like to film my flights. And it's not just content creation, it's also to do with debriefing objectively. Do you know the number of times where I was like, oh, I think this happened. I think it happened this way. And I watched the footage and it's completely different to what I thought had happened. And then I have to like have a chat with myself and go, wait, why did I process that differently to what happened? Like what happened there in reality? So I like to have film footage because it helps my debrief. Anyways, so I was coming into land. It was runway two something. I want to say not 25. I want to say runway 27, maybe 2 something. I'm coming into land. I'm aware there's a left crosswind, so I tell myself, it's going to be left wing down, right rudder. As I kind of begin to flare, and I'm like, yeah, cool, got it, absolutely. Then I go to land now, and I noticed, for whatever reason, my attention was like on where I'm putting my eyes, make sure I'm looking down the runway and all of that jazz. But when I touched down, I noticed that I touched down. So if you have wind coming this way, right, left crosswind, what you want to do is touch the left main first, then the right main, then the nose wheel, all right? And I noticed that I ended up actually touching the right main wheel first, and I was like, wait, it wasn't like a crazy amount of crosswind, but enough of a crosswind. And I was like, wait, what happened there? And I watched back the footage, and I was like, wait, I talked through the crosswind, the crosswind controls, and let's just say there wasn't that much crosswind input. And I was just like, that's really interesting. I remember something similar happened before. Like something similar happened way back when I was with an instructor, where I might talk through the checklist but not do the full checklist, especially the pre-landing checklist. So I learned to touch everything. So I don't just say, doors and hatches, or hatches and harnesses secure. I literally touch the door, touch the harness, just to make sure I've done it. I touch everything. I'm like Mr. Hansi. Brakes pressure checked, undercarriage is set, mixture for rich, I touch the mixture. All of that, go through, landing lights go on, obviously you go landing light on, carb heat goes hot, I make sure I touch everything. Hatches, harnesses, all good. So yeah, it's interesting what sometimes can happen very easily when either there's a little distraction or something happens, whatever, where we can think we're doing something when we're not actually doing it. And like you saw in that story, obviously with my landing, everything was safe. It wasn't proficient, but it was safe. It was like there was zero issue with the safety of the landing. But obviously, if I'm going to fly in stronger crosswinds, I definitely want to have that on lock. So it was good to watch that back and to be aware. So for this student, they're saying that most likely it was a startle effect and they just didn't apply the correct amount of rudder, or who knows, maybe they were stepping on something else other than the right rudder. And in that moment, just kind of being panicked, startled, that's easy to do. Again, this is why it's so important to review these situations, to debrief your own flights, because there is no such thing as a perfect flight. There's no such thing as a perfect pilot. There's no such thing as a perfect person. The best we can do is review, learn, improve, review, learn, improve, review, learn, improve. And so, yeah, it's really important to not only learn from our own mistakes, but to learn from others. So what do I take forward? If my seat rolls back and I'm flying solo, first of all, if I'm flying with somebody else and there happen to be a pilot, I now have it in my head that I could just call out, hey, like, you have control. And in fact, I might even include that in my briefing when I'm flying with pilots, to say, hey, look, obviously I've checked everything, but if this happens, I may ask you to have control. So like, be alert, basically. If I'm flying solo, that becomes a little bit more tricky. But the last thing I want to do, I think this is where being trimmed is really important, because the last thing, when you slide back, the last thing you want to do is hold on to the yoke. So in fact, because I'm flying tomorrow, when I rotate, my plan is to be light on the yoke, just to see if I was to let it go, would it be at the right attitude? I'll still be on the controls, but I'll be light on the controls just to see, like, does it stay there? Because my idea would be, if I'm flying solo and the seat just goes back, I would have to let go. And does that still keep me in the right attitude? I don't know. Come back next week and I'll tell you whether, whether that's something that could work for me or not. So yeah, there is that. And then there's the crosswind correction thing. Don't just call it, do it. Very important. What else? What are your takeaways? Put it in the chat, put it in the comment sections, what you take forward with you, because that's really more important than anything I could ever say, anything that anyone could ever say. What you realize and what you reflect on and what you take forward for yourself is way more important than anything I could ever say. So let people know, because you might have an impact on somebody else. You might inspire somebody else. You might put it in the words that resonates with somebody else. Who knows? Let us know. But that's it from me. That's it from me for today. I'm going to go get myself a decent amount of rest so I can get airborne tomorrow. Should be good fun. Should be good fun. I'll tell you what else was really good fun. What else was really good fun? This. I've always loved flying.
Hello. Ultra radar. Come on. Well done.
And dancing, there's no denying. If only I could blend the two. I know what I'll do. I'll fly to new places, to dance with new faces, making the most of the wings a private pilot license brings.
That was a little bit gusty.
Just made a no-fly decision.
Squawk conspicuity, 3-call shore.
A different way to our build and advance.
2-0, during downwind.
I call it fly to dance.
4 flaps.
Ooh, nice one.
Flaps come up.
Well, flight, man.
Foxtrot Sierra, welcome to shore.
We have everything in this flight, man.
Everything, bro.
So before I go, disclaimer. Listen, this is called the Future Pilot 901 show. Don't get hung up on every detail of what I say. Sometimes I will mention fictional situations just to illustrate a point. So don't write me, don't look for me, just so you know. Part of what I do is entertainment, part of what I do is real life, part of what I do is amplify certain things to make a point. So just putting it out there in the world so you know what is what. Don't say I never told you. All right, when you hear something and then you go and check it and it's like, oh wait, it's not exactly. Yeah, it might not be, or maybe it is. Who knows? Who knows? Especially last episode, I said a lot of things that were just for comedic effect, for a bit of a laugh, for a bit of
Let me add a little bit of spice to that.
So yeah, but do you know what? It reminds me of the old WWE, advert. As a kid, before I go, does anyone remember the old WWE advert? How does it go? No, I'm thinking of two different things. There is a WWE advert, but there is also. Do you know what? No. No, not the WWE. There is a WWE one that tells you not to try this at home because the injuries are real. It might be a bit of a show, but there's a reality underneath that show, right? So there is that. But I think I'm thinking of Judge Judy. I'm thinking of Judge Judy. My brother used to love Judge Judy. I used to live with my brother, and he loved watching Judge Judy. And it goes, how does it go again? How does it go? The intros. How does the intro go? Obviously, Judge Judy is entertainment, but there's a underlying reality into that. Let me see. Let me take a trip down memory lane. Have you guys ever seen Judge Judy? Ever seen Judge Judy? Let's have a look. Look at her, Judge Judith Scheindlin.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. The people are real.
The cases are real. The rulings are final. This is Judge Judy. Yeah, so it's a bit like that. You are entering Future Pilot 901 live for entertainment, but the stories, to some degree, are real. But yeah, my adolescence is riddled with a lot of Judge Judy because of my brother watching it and me having to kind of be a second-hand viewer of Judge Judy. But hey, worse things have happened, so I'm not complaining about that too much. Anyways, I hope you have a blessed week. I hope you have an amazing time, whatever you do. I hope that you're going to continue progressing towards your dream. Remember, the show is brought to you live on YouTube and in Kick every Monday, 7 p.m. Zulu time. That's UTC. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed any of the content, even if it was 1 second that you particularly enjoyed. Give us a like. I really appreciate your support. Shout out to all the new subscribers on YouTube. And if you're on Kick, make sure you hit that follow button. Thank you for the Kick followers from all around the world. We've had a few people, people from Morocco, people from Iran, wherever around the world, people from India. Listen, I'm not going to get into politics. All I'm going to say is I'm grateful for the viewership, and hopefully together we can continue growing and changing the world for the better. So, thank you very much for joining me today. This is Future Pilot 901. I'm your future captain. My name is D. And above all, I'm reminding you to live your dream. Peace.
Man, from living in my car to finally getting my trial flight done. To being in this moment.
Come on! Well done.
Was it worth the sacrifice? Oh man.
Pull back. Pull back. Maybe pull back more. Hold it there. Pull back.
52 south of radar 130.
Bit more.
Listen, was it worth the sacrifice?
So, power right on, center line.
Listen, if you have a dream, it's down to you to make it happen, man. You might give it everything and it might still not work, but guess what? The journey makes you a better, stronger person. Can you imagine what kind of person you would become if you didn't pursue the one thing that you thought was the best thing in the world? You didn't pursue it. What kind of person does that make you after 20, 30 years of doing that? But when you chase what you believe is the most valuable, the most beautiful, the most awesome thing that you can do, and you give it everything, win or lose, you become a better person.
Ever since I was a kid, I had a dream of becoming a pilot, but could never afford it. One day I decided to stop making excuses, to sacrifice my comfort, to make my dream happen. My name is D, and this is my journey. This is Future Pilot 901.